This magnet began in 1982 as a result of a grant from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation for Curriculum Development. A group of community activists, concerned parents, physicians, and administrators from Charles R. Drew University and King Drew Medical Center spearheaded the concept of King Drew Magnet High School. Their goal was to address the underrepresentation of minorities in the healthcare professions. They collaborated to develop a plan to build a school that would provide students of the Watts community with hands-on experience in careers in the healthcare professions. The late Los Angeles supervisor, Kenneth Hahn, set aside a 3.8-acre property located across the street from the MLK campus for the express purpose of building the school envisioned by the Watts community. For close to 40 years, King Drew has lived up to Dr. King's belief that justice in healthcare must come about through equal opportunity founded in a rigorous education. This year, we celebrate 40 years of excellence, the community we serve, and the building of King Drew.
What is community to you?
And so when I think of community, I think of support. I think of sharing a vision. I think of sharing an identity and sharing a history and a legacy.
Okay, so I grew up in the community of Watts, Willowbrook, and Compton, and I would like to maybe borrow from an African proverb. It takes a village to raise a child. And so I think if we substitute the word community for village, then we have what I think a community is. It takes a community to raise a child.
What does the King Drew community mean to you?
So I taught at Markham for 33 years and King Drew for 10, and I'm back again because I love nurturing students, our students of color, Black and brown mostly, and we show the world day after day that we can do phenomenal things in this village, in this community that we call King Drew. Communities, and the important part of that is that these are neighborhoods and communities that traditionally people look on with disdain and say, oh, you know, those kids, that's the ghetto, that's the hood, and they can't do this and they can't do that. But we have always maintained standards of excellence, and our students have flourished. And I don't want to brag on students, but we have really nurtured brilliant young ladies and young men. And we have defied the stereotype, starting with me.
I obviously found a place, a community that invited me to stick around and to want me to be a part of something that I thought was so important, which was class, students that worked, students that were trying to create not only just a future that had to do with giving back to the community, but also to try to work jobs in the healthcare facility. And quite frankly, any other work that they found to have passion in, and that we hoped they would get from the larger community. But once I found King Drew and King Drew found me, I think that community continues to give voice and support and power to so many students and to the faculty that is now taken on that kind of legacy to create students who are kind of understanding expertise, having really a critical eye for the politics of not only health, but of our society as well. And will continue to question as well as to try to answer some of the challenges that we're facing dealing with all the different issues concerning economics and race that I think King Drew is greatly fitted to try to come to terms with. And so I think the community means a great deal to me. I hope to always be a part of it.
The history of Watts changes in our community. Our community's history begins with the Shoshone Indians over 4,000 years ago. From the 17th through the 19th centuries, the population of Watts shifted and combined with Spanish, Mexican, Japanese, Italian, African American, and other European peoples to create Watts. As of the 2020 census, Watts is composed of 80% Latino, 18% African American, and a 2% Asian, Caucasian, and other population. It continues to be a community of change. We're about to take our King Drew family outside of our walls on a community tour to a few stops that were influential in the creation of our great institution, including the beginning of the Watts riots on 116th and Avalon, followed by a few stops that were created as a result of the Watts riots, including the Watts Labor Community Action Committee, the Martin Luther King Jr. Outpatient Center and Community Hospital, the Ted Watkins Jr. Park Promenade of Prominence, the Parents of Watts, King Drew Magnet High School of Medicine and Science, Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science, and a special stop to the Watts Towers, one of our cultural legacies, a place that was single-handedly built by Salmon Rodia from 1921 to 1954, and it's a monument to the spirit of the individuals who make their dreams tangible. The towers are one of the greatest national landmarks. For over 50 years, an adjacent community art center provides art, film, and music classes and hosts community events. Today's essential question: what are the histories of our students' wider histories in their communities, in society, and in the world? How does their connection to their identity matter to what you teach? How does my teaching and learning help students to learn about themselves and about others?
Hey, King Drew. So sometimes I think of ourselves as vessels of story, the stories we carry with us about our history, about our background, about our experiences, about our identities, the things that make us who we are. And through story, allow us to connect in our common humanity, in our soul, in our community of King Drew. So this is what we would like you to do today. As you go out and come back, please see and think, what is the story of our community that you see? What does our community mean to you? And capture it in a photo. It could look something like this. Or this. Or this. Whatever your photo, whatever it means to you, you're going to upload that photo as part of your exit ticket and add a caption of starting with our community and say what that photo means to you or what it represents in its story that it tells. And then we're going to take those photos and bring them back into King Drew, maybe in our hallways, maybe on our walls, so that the community that we see outside is reflected inside. The community we see outside is reflected inside. I got you, King Drew. You're looking good. Have a great tour.
I think that's it.